Hey guys, Pedro here to do another album review. Today I'm here to talk about Angra's new album, ØMNI. This is their 9th album. This guy's been around for a while, and this album comes out February 16th. So, let me tell you this. Strap down, get ready, because this album, it's quite the ride. It's not what I was expecting, and that's not a bad thing necessarily. But let me get into the nitty-gritty of the album, and let me explain what I mean by this album is the ride. Is like a roller coaster ride. So let me get into the nitty gritty of the album. This album has 11 tracks. One of them is an instrumental track, which is the last track of the album, and it's about an hour long, just an hour and a few seconds. For those of you that watch my reviews, you know that I like my albums around 11 tracks. That's perfect. Between 8 and 12, this is 11. 1 hour is a little bit too much. I like the albums to be around the 45-minute mark, but for this album I'm actually okay with a 1 hour mark, and I'll explain why. This is a concept album, not in a way that probably you're thinking when you hear the word concept album. Not that each song is part of an overall like a piece of the story, and then by the time you get to the bottom of the last song you kind of had a whole story. Not in that specific way as a concept, but it is a concept album where every song is its own story. It's a short story, but all of them are part of an overall picture, of an overall story that you're trying to tell you with this whole album. So because it is a concept album, because it's part of a storytelling kind of album, the fact that it's 1 hour long, it kind of doesn't really make too much of a difference to me, because I was kind of taken by the music in song after song, and I kind of got lost into the music, and I didn't even notice the time passing by. And I think for the story to be, for each story to be told properly, and for the overall picture to be drawn for you, you really needed the album to be in this length. You couldn't really start cutting out songs, because then you would lose some of the melodies. You probably would lose some of the texture of each song. So the album, from that perspective, the 1 hour mark it's fine, because it's such an easy album to listen to, and it's such a pleasure to sit down and listen to these songs, because they really take you through a roller coaster ride. And I'm going to explain that to you a little bit more in depth, so that you understand exactly what I'm trying to say. So, like I said before, this is a concept album. The band really wanted to grab some of their previous albums like Holy Land, Rebirth, and Temple of Shadows, and kind of merge those three into one. And that's what they've done with ØMNI. ØMNI is really a merger of those styles, the styles of those three albums into one. So if you're sitting down expecting to listen to a power metal album or a heavy metal album from song 1 to song 11, you're going to be disappointed. If you're coming in with an open mind and really willing to let the music tell the stories and let the music speak for itself, I think you're really going to enjoy this album, because the album is really well thought out. The album is really well put together. The way they decided to put the songs, the song order is perfect. The way each song, like there's certain things constant throughout the album, but each song is very different in its style. Not only in what the song is about, but even in the style of the song. They really merge different styles of metal and progressive rock, even gent. They really incorporated a lot of different modern styles of metal into this album, so the album is not linear from the perspective that when you put it in and you're expecting to listen to just power metal or a heavy metal album, it's not what you're going to get. You're really going to get different spectrums of the metal world in one album. And it may sound like, wow, that doesn't sound very appealing. It is, because like I said before, this is a concept album with each song being its own short story. So each song really has to match, musically, it has to match the narrative of the song itself. So songs that the story requires the song to be a little bit more fast tempo, that song is more fast tempo, and you get more of a power metal vibe to that song. Songs that require it to be a little bit more dark and ominous, you get that as well. You get more of a symphonic aspect to it. There's some songs that have a lot of piano in it and orchestra, so that gives you more of an ominous, dark vibe, more of a symphonic metal vibe to that song, if you will. Then there's some songs that have a huge, really huge, heavy Brazilian influence with it, either be the drumming or the guitar playing. Very unique styles, and they incorporate a lot of traditional instruments as well in some of their songs. There's even one song called Caveman that has like a choir singing in Portuguese to start off the song before the singer actually kicks in. So the whole album is very dynamic. It's pretty much, like I said, it's pretty much a roller coaster, and each song's music really matches the tempo of the story. And that to me was what really captivated me about the album. It was the lyrics that they were giving me with each song, but also the fact that from song to song, I really didn't know what I was going to get. I didn't know if I was going to get more of a heavy metal song. I didn't know if I was going to get more of a progressive metal rock song. I didn't know if I was going to get a power metal song. I didn't know if I was going to get a ballad. I honestly didn't know going into each song what I was going to get, because every single song was giving me something completely different from the previous one. The only thing that I would say that stayed constant throughout the album is the amazing vocals. The vocals in this album are absolutely, when he hits those high notes, it blows my mind. The vocals are absolutely amazing. The guitar work is insane. The super fast guitar riffs on those more power metal songs are absolutely delicious to listen to. The solos are incredible, and the drum work in this album is really something special. Specifically those songs that incorporated that Brazilian style drumming in it. You know, something for those of you that that listen to Sepultura's Roots album would be familiar with. Some of those traditional sound drumming are incorporated in this album in some of their songs, which it gives a complete, it's a completely different dynamic to the song itself. It just changes the way the song is presented to the audience, and I really like that. I really like the fact that not only it's a concept album, each song is a story, each song's music matches what the story is telling in terms of the speed or how the song is presented to you and the style. And I'm glad that we're not also, the band was not afraid to go and change from song to song and try out different styles and do different things. I really think that takes courage, but they did it in a very thorough process that really works. But to me, this album really works. I was really captivated by the storytelling, but also by how the music matched that storytelling. That to me was really the cherry on top. And then the album finishes with an instrumental track that kind of gives the listener the feel that you're at the movies and the credits are rolling and this song is playing in the background. So to me, that's kind of how it felt as I'm listening to the album, as I'm going through song by song, as I'm learning about these stories and these cool things that they're telling me. You get to the last track and you're hit with this instrumental track, and it really felt to me that, okay, the movie is over, the credits are rolling, and now this instrumental track is playing in the background, which was super cool. I thought it was the perfect ending to this album. I don't think the album could have really ended in any other way but this. It was a really neat way to see them go with that last song, and to me, like I said, it kind of felt like I was at the movies watching the credits roll. Now, to get a little bit deeper into the songs, I'm going to start out with 3 songs that I really like, and then I'm going to go into a few tangents. But first I want to start with the 3 songs that I really like. The first song that really captured my attention was Light of Transcendence. That's the first song on the album. It's a super fast guitar riff song. There's a little bit of an orchestra in it, so it's like power metal mixed in with symphonic metal, but like really, like, I'm almost tempted to say this is power metal on steroids, this song, because it's such fast tempo song. The lyrics and the vocals really match well to it. Then when you add the symphonic aspect to it, this song to me was really a nice introduction to the album, and actually kind of made me believe that the album was all going to be within that same dynamic, which it can be further from the truth, because each song really presents itself in a different way. But to me, this was the first song that really spoke to me, that I really liked it. I really liked the way the song sounded. I really liked the vocals on it, and it was such a good way to get introduced to the album and have this as being the first song that introduces you to the album. The second song that I have to mention is Black Widow's Web. This is a very melodic song, more of a slow tempo, more of a dark, ominous feel. Even has harsh vocals in it. There's female vocals, there's the lead singer's vocals in it, and then there's some harsh vocals in it, which is the only song in the album that employs harsh vocals. But for a song like this, which is such a dark, it's a dark and ominous, almost, it's not a black metal song, but it has a lot of, the lyrics have a lot of the same dynamics that black metal has. So this song, to add those harsh vocals to it, it just gives it so much more darkness, and it gives it gives life to the lyric. It really gives life to the lyrics of the song, and it really gives life to the song in general. It's one of my favorites. It's one of my top 3 favorite songs in this album, just because it's so different from everything else. It's the only song with harsh vocals, like I said, and it's a song that really gives you something that no other song in this album will give you. And for that alone, I had to put it down as one of my favorite 3. Then, last but not least, my 3rd favorite song is War Horns. Oh my god, this one is more in line with the first one, but it's even better than the first one. It's your typical power metal song, balls to the wall, super fast guitar riffs, great vocals, hitting the high notes. I believe the band is actually going to release a video for this song next week before the album actually comes out to the public. So I'm actually pretty excited about seeing the video for this song, because this is, if I had, like, if you're putting a gun to my hand and you're asking me to pick one of these three as my favorite, war horns would be my absolute favorite, because as the song says, war horns, you blow the horns when you're going to war. Once again, it proves my point that the song is so fast tempo because it really matches the story that the song is telling you. They really combine the storytelling of the lyrics with the music almost perfectly in this album, where the two are really going hand in hand throughout the album. And this song to me is just an extreme balls to the wall, super cool power metal song. I really enjoyed it. It was one of the songs that I enjoyed the most in this album, I must say. Now, there's a couple of other songs I have to mention, just, not that they're not my favorite, I really enjoy them, but the reason I want to mention them is because more of the Brazilian vibe that they bring to it. One is The Bottom of My Soul, that starts with a very cool guitar intro that has very cool traditional Brazilian sounds. I thought that was really well done. I really like the way they introduced their culture, where they come from, their roots, if you will, into this album, and they were not afraid of doing so. And I really like the way they incorporated. They didn't do full songs on, like, with a Brazilian theme to it, but they did incorporate Brazilian drumming, guitars, and even vocals into some of their songs. So this one was one of those that really caught my attention. Travels of Time and Caveman were two others that have a lot of heavy Brazilian influence in them, especially in the drum section. Like, the drums in those two songs are heavily Brazilian influenced. If you listen to a lot of Brazilian traditional music, if you're familiar with that kind of drumming, you're going to be familiar with this kind of sound. And it just adds a little bit more texture to the music. It adds a little bit more of a Latin vibe to the music, and it really makes the songs more unique in their own way. Caveman goes even a step further, because the way the song starts, it has a little bit of a choir in it. It sounds to me like a choir, and they're singing in Portuguese. So that one took it a step further, not only adding the drums and the traditional instruments to it, but they also added a choir that lends in some vocals in Portuguese before the singer actually kicks in and starts singing the song. So overall, to me, this is a very unique album. To me, this is, so far from all the albums that I've listened in 2018, this has got to be the more dynamic and the more fluid album that I've listened to. Also the more, how can I say it, the more compact album, if you will. It's a story, like I said, it's 11 stories on their own, but all part of a bigger picture of storytelling, of the concept that the band put together for this ØMNI album, where they incorporated the styles of different albums from the past to create one super album, if you will. So I think this album is going to get a lot of people talking, and it's going to be surprising to a lot of people. But I think overall, it's going to be a surprise in a good way. To me, it was a surprise in a good way. I really enjoyed it. I think it's going to be one of those albums that people will be talking about it, just because it's so different, just because it's so dynamic, just because it offers such a range of different styles of metal, of different styles of music within one single album, within one band. I know that's not for everybody, and maybe for those die-hard fans, they may be a little bit disappointed with that. To me, I think it's part of the band's evolution, and it's part of where the band wants to go and experiment with different sounds and see where they can take their music. To me, I'm always open to that, and I really enjoy the ride that they took me on with ØMNI. So don't forget, leave your comments below. Let me know if you have any questions about this album, the band, or anything related to it that I can, hopefully help answer. And let me know if you're interested in picking up this album, and if this is one of those bands that you've been looking forward to their release. All right, guys, take care. See ya.